You are listening to the Takedown Notice, conferencing on Google Hangouts, hosted by Podbean.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Takedown Notice, episode 5? Is this episode 5 now, guys?
I think
Episode 5. Let's do that one again.
I like it. I think,
Yeah.
Yes, it is episode 5.
No, it's cool.
It's episode 5 now. It's episode 5 now. All right. My name is Nate Owens. I'm coming to you from Kansas City. I'm joined by John Van Valkenburg.
What's up, guys?
Ryan Steiner.
Hello.
And Aaron Van Valkenburg.
Hey.
And we are here to talk about some music that we all like. How have things been going for you guys?
Good.
Everything good? Everything rocking still?
Rock so hard.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad to
So
hear that.
hard.
Hey,
Also
did
ball
you guys...
so hard, too.
Sorry, what was that?
Also ball so hard. That shit cray.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
That time of year.
Did you guys... I don't know if you guys saw this. This is really... I'm excited about this, but on... someone on YouTube did a mashup of the new... I've talked about the new Daft Punk album a couple of times and how much I liked it, and someone did
Yes, you're a little obsessed.
So yeah, I am. But someone did a mashup on YouTube of the new Daft Punk album and Fhqwhgads' "Come On Fhqwhgads."
Say come on for Fhqwhgads. Say come on for Fhqwhgads. Everybody to the limit. Everybody to the limit. Everybody come on for Fhqwhgads.
And it's the whole album of Random Access Memories set to "Come On Fhqwhgads" from Homestar Runner.
Nice.
And it's an hour long. It's an hour-long YouTube video, and it is literally every track on the album just has "Come On Fhqwhgads" there as the lyrics instead of the actual lyrics. And it sounds like
Pretty solid.
It sounds like it'd be annoying, but it's pretty great. I don't mind telling you guys. It was something that made me pretty excited.
What's interesting is that Strong Bad song, I knew that before I knew the song that I think it sounds like. The Michael Jackson Get on the Floor, the middle of Get on the Floor from the Off the Wall album.
Now someone needs to take "Off the Wall" and turn that into "Off the Wall" with Fhqwhgads. And
then match that together
Or
with
off
Ram.
the Fhqwhgads.
and then we'll
Yup.
combine that with Random Access Memories, and we can have a three-layer mashup with "Come On Fhqwhgads."
And then lay all that over in rainbows, play it backwards, and, get this, you have Dark Side of the Moon.
That's right. And then you have to watch.
Mind blown.
Yeah, you got to watch, like, I was gonna say Wizard of Oz, but then I thought, what if it was a different movie, like Escape from New York or something? I was just picking a movie out of my head.
It matches
Let's see what else.
perfectly.
What else have I been listening to? Have you guys heard the newest David Bowie album? It came out last year. It was like last March, but I guess it's been out about a year now. But it's called The Next Day, and I've not listened to a whole bunch of Bowie in my life, but that's a really good album. I don't know. I mean, if you guys get a chance to listen to it, I really recommend it. I was listening to it, and it was one of those situations where every single song was like, oh wow, I'm really digging this. I'm really digging that. It's like, oh wow, and I got to the end. There's a song towards the end called "How Does the Grass Grow," and it's a really cracked out song, but I really liked it a lot. It's great. I definitely would recommend you guys check it out at some point. I'm trying to think of anything else. I mentioned in the last episode, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, we were talking about stuff we've been listening to with our kids, and we've been listening to a lot of Beatles in our car, and I got out the album Love, which is from a Cirque du Soleil soundtrack they did for the Beatles-based Cirque du Soleil show. And it's like they'll combine the rhythm from one song with the lyrics to another song. So there's one that's like the words to "Within You, Without You" playing over the music from "Tomorrow Never Knows." And it works completely well, which is probably not too hard with "Tomorrow Never Knows" since it's all just played on C, but it's still really fascinating. I really liked it a lot. So I don't know. What have you guys been listening to? John, how about you?
Let's see. Some Strange Talk. They're pretty fun.
I don't think I've heard of Strange Talk, and I hope I don't embarrass myself. I don't want to seem uncool, but I've not heard of Strange Talk.
It's all right, Nate. We already think you're uncool.
Oh, thanks.
No, I'm just kidding. Young Hearts. That's one. That's a good song.
Got it.
I've also. I went back and listened to some of the Grace Potter and the Nocturnals.
You got me down on the floor. So what you
Some Youngblood, Hawke. All that hippie, indie crap that I'm way too old to listen to. But,
all that hippie crap that I love. Yeah.
I do. I love it.
You do live in Seattle, Ryan. You have to listen to hippie crap.
Well, in that case, I was impersonating John, who was making fun of the thing that he loves. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
In Seattle, you have to like hipster music, or they'll kick you out. It's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you can't. You can't get by growing a handlebar mustache. I know
Nope.
that for a fact.
Nope. That's
so
not
what are you
enough.
gonna do?
Yeah, you have to listen to hipster music and wear tight jeans.
Yeah, you don't look good in tight jeans.
I'll tell you what.
No, great. Nate, I don't look good in tight jeans. I look fabulous. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Anyway, back to music.
Now that I'm distracted and oddly aroused,
John,
no, I've also listened. I've been pretty much the new Foster the People album has been on kind of repeat for me. I really like it. So
yeah, I was reading. It must have been on AV Club. I was reading a review of that the other day, and it sounded like something I really wanted to get into, and I couldn't at that point, and I haven't gotten back into it. So you liked it a lot?
Oh yeah.
How does it compare to their first album?
Little different. Seems a little bit, maybe a little faster. More my style. Don't get me wrong. I love me some pumped up kicks, but I don't know. The first album was decent. This one I really like.
Yeah, I thought the first one was a couple of good singles, kind of built around an all right album. So I'd be interested to hear something a little stronger from them. So
Yep.
Cool. Aaron, how about you? Anything good?
Yeah, I've kind of a interesting relationship with jazz music, I guess. I like it.
You guys are just friends, but you're not exclusive or anything.
Yeah. No, we're more of acquaintances, honestly. It's and you'd think I like playing jazz piano a little bit and all this stuff.
Random lovers.
Just acquaintances. But I'm really kind of into this group from Brooklyn, New York, Snarky Puppy, which is like this. Yeah, they're incredible.
They sound charming.
Are you sure they aren't from that emo album, the emo greatest hits album that we talked about a few episodes ago?
No, they're
Dude, the
wicked
Emo Diaries.
familiar.
Snarky Puppy's great. They're a great grooving modern jazz fusion band, and it's all instrumental stuff, which is a lot of jazz is, it leans that way. But I'm really into one of their older songs. "Skate You" is just a great one. It has just a great groove, a sick bass solo, and just this organ solo that is just. Yeah, it just makes you want to go to church. It's just great.
Aaron, you need to check out the Seatbelts.
The Seatbelts, huh?
Dude, that's going to be like nerd alert like crazy, but, I love me some Cowboy Bebop, and that has the best soundtrack of any show ever.
There you go. So anyway, yeah, Snarky Puppy's great. And then kind of keeping with the virtuosic musicians, Chris Thile, is that how you say his name? From Nickel Creek?
I think it's Teal.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how we say it, but he's done a lot of collaborations with various artists recently since Nickel Creek kind of broke up and then got together.
They have a new album out today.
I was going to say, yeah, there's a new Nickel Creek album out today.
Yeah.
Rather on the day we're recording this.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, in 2011, he did an album with Michael Davies, or Michael Davies, I'm not sure, who's just a virtuoso, flat-picking guitar player and singer. And then, of course, Chris Thile, or whatever his name is, plays the mandolin, and he's incredible. And anyway, just listen to them. That album is Sleep With One Eye Open. I listened to their performance on NPR, and just super tight harmonies, just playful, that you can just tell that they're ridiculous musicians. And I don't know, I kind of like that because it makes me feel like I'm one of them somehow, but I'm not. You know?
He's there playing air mandolin in his room.
Exactly.
And he tells his wife, okay, you have to play air upright bass, and then he gets his kids to try and do the other instruments as needed, you know.
Air slide guitar is really hard, but
Yeah.
when you pull it off, it's so rewarding.
It also can kind of look like you're doing something inappropriate.
Air lap steel.
Yep.
So yeah,
Very nice. Very nice. Ryan, how about you?
Speaking of AV Club, which has come up a couple times, a couple weeks ago they did a piece on MF Doom's Madvillain, which is kind of a classic-ish hip-hop album from the last 10 years, and I've been listening to that a lot. That was one of those albums that I'd read about it and I'd say, oh, I'm going to listen to that later. Oh, I'm going to listen to that. And never had until just now, and I love it. It's really great.
My whole life is made up of those albums. I could probably
I know,
make
right?
a whole thing of like, oh yeah, it's stuff I meant to listen to and never did.
Yeah. So yeah, it was cool to listen to it and be like, hey, this is as good as I had heard it was, if not a little bit better. Listen to that. Also, because I have a 2-year-old daughter, I've been listening to the Frozen soundtrack.
We talked about that last time. didn't we?
Yeah, it's just, you can't escape it. This girl's 2 years old, and in the car, she's saying, let it go, Daddy, let it go. And I don't know where she even remembered that from. It just gets in her little head space, and she can't get it out. So we've listened to that goddamn song about 400,000 times, and I'm about sick of it, but she loves it, so there's parenthood.
I feel like
Well, at least it's a quality musical piece.
Yeah, but here's another thing. If you took out the word go and put in burn instead, it's about an arsonist who doesn't give a crap about anything. So I've been doing that. It's way more enjoyable.
Or you could put snow, and then it's a Christmas song.
That's so boring.
You know,
Let it
it's-
snow.
Let it snow.
Let it
It's funny.
snow.
It's funny you guys are mentioning Frozen. On my blog, and I'm taking a tangent here, but on my blog, I just wrote a thing where I took all 53 Disney animated movies and ranked them, and I did it in 15 minutes. So you know, I put a lot of thought into it.
It's good.
And excuse me. One of the things I was going as I went through, I was thinking about. My son was watching Robin Hood, and I thought, hey, you know, Prince John and Sir Hiss, they share a bedroom.
Whoa.
And I don't know. This movie might be more progressive than I thought it was at the time. So
I never
kind of a
realized that, but
it's kind of a Smithers and Mr. Burns thing there, you know.
Dogs are idiots. Think about it, Smithers. If I came into your house and started sniffing at your crotch and slobbering all over your face, what would you say?
If you did it, sir.
But yeah, you know, Frozen is funny. I don't think I've heard the song since I saw the movie. I saw the movie like in January, and it's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, I'm so sick of that song," and I'm like, you know, you did buy the soundtrack, and you did link to all those YouTube videos, and I think it's your own. I think it's your own dumb fault if you're sick of that song now, because I literally have only heard it once. I remember it, so it's memorable enough for me to keep hearing it, but. We'll probably talk about Frozen again next time we record an episode, and it'll be like, hey guys, I'm still listening to Frozen because I still have little girls, but I have little boys. So
next album podcast.
we should just talk about the Frozen soundtrack and not mention any other song. We'll just talk about Let It Go for an hour and see how that goes.
So guys, who's your favorite singer and why is it Idina Menzel or whatever her name is? That will be the podcast. That'll be fun. Anyway.
I'm up for it. Let's make it happen.
She is quality.
She's quality.
Actually, I was surprised by Kristen Bell's talent.
'Cause for the first time in forever,
Yeah, both those girls have pipes.
Was Kristen Bell? Did she sing it? Did she do the?
She's the little sister.
Anna.
She's
Oh,
Anna.
Yeah.
oh. See, I don't have any daughters. You guys all know this stuff now.
I have every song memorized. It's really sad and really awesome at the same
I
time.
have all of Monsters University memorized, so we could go in that direction. But there's no songs from that, so I'm sorry, guys. Anyway,
Wow, Nate, way to be so gender essentialist.
we didn't come here to talk about that. We came here to talk about a bunch of other songs that aren't Let It Go, and we're gonna start. We're gonna start by talking about a song that Aaron recommended, which is "Hound Dog" by Big Mama Thornton.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Been snooping around my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Been snooping around my door. You can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna feed you no more.
Yeah. So I love this track. I think, like most people, I grew up only hearing Elvis do Hound Dog.
Ain't nothing but a hound dog. You're crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine.
And, you know, that's kind of cool in its own way. And, of course, that's a monumental song. I can't just play it down. It's, in fact, that song was huge for the kind of evolution of rock and roll. I mean, really, because Elvis's hit was great because it was one of the first times where the different charts, back in the day in the 50s, there's the pop charts and the R&B and the country western charts and so on. And they were all kind of different. But in the late 40s, early 50s, you started getting the occasional crossover hit. And Hound Dog was really like the first crossover hit that was huge everywhere. And really, this sense of crossover was what rock and roll became. This is why we go back to Elvis in a lot of ways, because of this. And this song was very important in that way. Anyway, so this song, that's how I knew it. This is actually written by, in case you didn't know, Elvis didn't write, I don't think any of his songs, but maybe. But definitely not this one. A lot of times there's a songwriting people who would write this stuff. And so Lieber and Stoller wrote this song. They're a duo, kind of, you know, Rodgers and Hammerstein again, but for rock and roll or something. They wrote also Jailhouse Rock that Elvis did. They did Benny King, the Stand By Me, if you know that one. They also wrote that too. So, you know, they're millionaires. So they wrote this tune, but it was originally intended to be performed by Big Mama Thornton. And I'd never heard the song till like last year. And when I heard it, I instantly was like, oh, this is Hound Dog. And, you know, Elvis, that song, that's fine, but I think it's just the blues here. It's has a little more, the voice is better. Big Mama Thornton's great. The growls and all that stuff. And it's just kind of interesting. I don't know if you noticed, there's like an extra couple bars, or I should say a couple beats added kind of at the end of this kind of 12-bar blues kind of feel. And so it's kind of a little bit crooked sounding that stands out compared to like the Elvis version.
Well, you know what I found interesting, and Aaron, I'm like you. This is the first time I'd heard this version of it. I'd known about it, but I think in my head I had assumed that Elvis did a cover, not that he sort of did a rewritten version of the same song, which is really the case. This is
right.
It's a pretty distinct song, actually. That surprised me. I think I was expecting something a little closer to the original. Or I'm sorry, I should say I was expecting something closer to the Elvis recording, even in terms of melody. Like this has a lot more lyrics to it. It's a longer song. It has a really kind of primal, guttural kind of feel to it. Very unstudied. I mean, the Elvis song is really good. That's sure. Probably it's the Elvis song I'm most familiar with, probably. And I think that one reason it is good is because it took this kind of really raw sound that, I mean, I don't know, you know, I don't have it in front of me how well this song actually did in terms of radio charts at that time, you know. But he did take it and make it something that was really marketable and really crossover, which people say that's like, oh, how he commercialized it, but that's how, I mean, that's how ground is broken.
Well, and again, Hound Dog was huge in the R&B audience, which, read the black audience, in the 50s. So, this was part of what was controversial about rock and roll, too, is the fact that, white people were listening to black music and black people were listening to white music. It was controversial.
So you're saying he's the Justin Timberlake of the 50s?
That's exactly what he's saying.
I don't know. I mean,
with no ambiguity at all.
He isn't not that.
Yeah.
To be clear on what Elvis was doing, Elvis picked this up. So I hear actually from a variation of Big Mama Thornton's that he had been hearing by Freddie Bell and the Bellboys.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so there are lots of versions of this floating around. And there's actually a terrible song called Bearcat, like You Ain't Nothing But a Bearcat, which was a cover of this by Rufus Thomas. Go listen to that. It is just awful.
It sounds awesome.
It was so terrible.
University of Cincinnati
really
Bearcats.
Cincinnati
I would say, yeah, go Bearcats.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't think about that. But yeah, so there's
it's an Ohio State song. You ain't nothing but a bear.
No, it's songwriting by way of cryptozoology. You ain't nothing but a bear and a cat. Bearcat. Yeah, that's what you are. You son of a bitch.
It's definitely a real animal.
Sorry. Anyway.
So there are lots of covers floating around.
Yeah.
And
I'm curious as to how you came across this. I mean, personally, I just don't see you just being like, oh, Spotify, I'm going to listen to some, old-time black music.
Right.
That doesn't really register as, you.
No, that's interesting. Actually, last spring, I was in a class that it was an independent study with a group of 8 of us at Eastman. And we all did this history of rock class together with an actual, popular music scholar. And this is when I first heard it. We were going through this, history text and stuff. And I realized, I didn't know Hound Dog as I should have known it or something. So the other thing I thought about, and I'd love to hear Ryan and Nate's thoughts too, just to throw it out there. There's an erotic aspect to this. Now this is normal. It's, I'll get it in the chorus, and then wag your tail. You gotta love that. I mean, and this is kind of a black stereotype, that I think the
it is, and I should say it's one that I think is I think it was popularized that sort of there's a sort of exoticism that white audiences, especially I think maybe less racially sensitive white audiences of the 50s, which not that this doesn't happen today, but that less that there'd be like, we won't, we're willing to objectify them, but not to actually treat them like real people. And I think that's sort of that is on display here. Now, it's not really, this wasn't made for white audiences as such, as far as I can tell. So it's not, which is also different. That subtext is mostly not there in the Elvis recording at all.
Right.
Or at least it's not nearly that direct. Yeah,
it's a completely different audience.
And with Big Mama Thornton, I think this is interesting your thoughts. I mean, with all that kind of erotic stuff going on, in a way, I think as a modern listener, we listen to that and almost think to ourselves, good for her, good for Big Mama, she can be in touch with her erotic self and so on. But if that was Beyonce, we would treat it totally different.
That's so nice for a big woman. That's what we'd say, yeah.
Exactly. And so I think that's an interesting, I don't know if it's double standard, but it's an interesting way that we receive that Big Mama Thornton, her image and just the sound of it, opens up a different reception space.
Like it's more satire than reality.
Right. Just even it opens up a space for us to actually, a playground for experimenting with our ideas of what is erotic and enjoying that and not feeling bad about it and not feeling like, I should be shaming this person or something like that, where otherwise we might for like Beyonce or whoever,
Yeah, well, and it's also, I mean, it's always a little sticky to be talking about issues of racism and sexism when we're a bunch of white guys on this podcast, And I think we should preface everything we're going to say here with that. There's a level of identification that we just can't get here, I think, with that. But I do think that's interesting that there's it's not about, hey, look at me, look how sexy I am. It's about, hey, you're not going to get any more. That's really what the song is about, and it's not, you're right. It's definitely it's got a really raunchy streak to it, but it's also not like, I don't know if I'd call it objectifying personally. I don't know if you guys would disagree with that, but
I'd also say it's a little bit less raunchy than maybe we're saying. I think that's part of the fact that we are very, very much not the culture
Right.
of this.
yeah. Ryan, you haven't said anything yet. I don't know if you had anything to add to this.
Yeah, y'all are taking it to another level I didn't even think about. But as for myself, I have heard Hound Dog like a bajillion times. I don't really like Elvis. He's never done it for me, which is fine, whatever. I heard this song and I was like, oh, this is how that's supposed to sound, Elvis, exactly. You dummy. Like, this is what this song is supposed to be. It just touches, just from that opening note, like, it just touches on you get the entire song just based on that first opening blast of You Ain't Nothing.
Well, and it is an
amazing.
Outstanding vocal performance.
It is outstanding. Like, I was just blown away. Like, I was just listening to it, my jaw was dropped. Like, I've never been so familiar with a song and heard a cover of it that so completely changed my perceptions of what it was, and felt like I had been exposed to a whole other new song that, I don't know, it was just really different. Like, yeah, I just felt like this song should have been sung by a woman all along. Like, that's crazy that it was sung by Elvis. It doesn't kind of make sense there.
You know what? I think the only cover I can think of that maybe pulled the same kind of, wow, it really changed the kind of song it is, was With a Little Help from My Friends. If you think of the Ringo Starr version, and then you think of the Joe Cocker version.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on?
In the Joe Cocker version, I mean, it's a good average kind of Beatles song, but the Joe Cocker version is like, I mean, John Lennon. Yeah, I mean, John Lennon said that it was better than his version.
Well, we should be clear here. Big Mama Thornton's is 1953, and that is the original.
Yes, yeah, hers is the original.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there you go. Then Elvis, why did you?
Yeah,
I missed that part. But I mean, even still, it's like, Elvis, why did you ruin this song for me all my life? Because I didn't realize how great it was.
Yeah, he was paid a lot of money for it. Exactly.
Yeah, he was. Which that to me is more of an interesting thing, is, talking about white appropriating black culture and exploiting it and getting lots and lots of money for it, while the original is unknown to people like me, which is, again, my fault because I hadn't really sought it out. But it's an interesting example of how that can happen, and we're not even aware of it despite our better or best intentions.
Right. Cool. Well, anyone else have anything they want to add to Hound Dog by Big Mama Thornton?
Awesome song. That's all. Yeah,
it is an awesome song. It's a really great recording, and I think it does come screaming through the speakers when you hear it. It's just that vocals. Oh man, just great. Really, really good. All right, hey, let's move on to John's song, which is One of These Things First by Nick Drake.
I could be here and now. I would be, I should be, but how? I could have been one of these things first.
John, tell us a little bit about this song. Why'd you pick this one?
I mean, I don't have like a real transcendent reason that I picked it. I heard this the first time, and I didn't realize that I had heard it the first time this way. It's on the Garden State soundtrack, and that had that was a really good soundtrack for just blending into the background of the film. And at the time, I didn't actually do any research, and I assumed that this was, some indie performance that made it on, like the Shins are on there and things like that. So, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is just something that has come out in the last, 10, 15 years. And then I found it the other day. I was like, oh yeah, I love that song. And then I was like, 1970, what the heck? And then I find out that he's like one of these singer-songwriters that, died really young. He's got a huge cult following, kind of a la Elliott Smith. And I don't know. It's there's not a ton of his stuff that I'm just like, oh, we have to listen to it. But this is one of those songs that I think, it doesn't seem like it only has to be pigeonholed in the 70s. And that's some of the best music, is when you get a song that it could be from any era, if you think about it. It's just good singer-songwriting work. So
yeah,
that's why I selected it.
I kind of got that from this. I listened to it and it sounded like this could be, 10 years ago, singer-songwriter, whatever. And I think you said it was from the 70s earlier, and I didn't realize, what is it, 1970? It's the early 70s. I mean,
yeah, it's literally, I think, 1970.
And so, I mean, to me, it does seem timeless in that way. And maybe that's partly because Nick Drake didn't have a chance dying early to have an effect on the 70s. Maybe, I don't know that he would have exactly, but he may have changed the way we heard 70s singer-songwriter or something. But
Aaron, I'm not sure about that. He would have had no effect.
I don't know.
I mean, to me, yeah, I guess to me this was, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but this does feel tied to the 70s to me, and I think because it reminds me a lot of stuff like Simon and Garfunkel, James Taylor. It kind of brings that to mind to me, and not at all in a bad way. I'm not wild about 70s acoustic pop, like this kind of stuff, and I hate even using that phrase because it sounds dismissive, but I did like this song. It's now, for me, mostly it ended up being more of a pleasantry, kind of a background thing for me. And John, you even mentioned that it kind of serves that purpose in the movie in Garden State. And I think that's kind of where I connected with it. I would have to give it a lot more effort to really kind of, I think, to emotionally connect with it. The lyrics for me were a little, I guess, histrionic would be, like they're just this sort of young adult angst to them that on one hand I do relate to, but on the other hand I'm like, come on, who cares? And maybe that's just more indicative of the point in life where I'm at now. But yeah, I did like this one. I was not familiar with any other Nick Drake stuff before listening to this, so I did like the song. Ryan, let's hear what you had to say there.
I thought it dovetailed nicely into Iron and Wine. There was a lot of similar
which for
influence there.
those paying attention is what we're going to be talking about in our next episode. Is Iron and Wine's album The Shepherd's Dog?
Yeah, so that's something that's been on my mind a lot lately. So I thought those were tied together nicely, and I listened to a little bit more of Nick Drake and saw that I'm sure there was a lot of influence there from Nick Drake. But yeah, I thought it was a nice song. Melancholy, and it works well with Garden State soundtrack. Like, to me, there's like a prototypical image for that, and I hear that, I think, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Which again isn't dismissive, but that's just kind of what it is, and that's good. It's a good example.
I think they're like riding a bicycle in it. Like, I think they're riding a bike or something.
Riding a bicycle in the rain with your Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
I'm curious. I don't know if you said this or not. I listened to about 10 other tracks by Nick Drake, just to kind of get a sense, and they all kind of sound like this in a way. Although I think this one was probably my favorite. Maybe it's just familiarity, but I was just curious. Is this your favorite?
This one and Black Dog, I think, are the two that are the most popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me the big context I had for it was that it just reminded me of other music too. I think James Taylor was a big one. My wife's family really likes James Taylor. My wife really likes James Taylor, and so I've listened to a fair bit of him, and it sounds like it could be one of his songs. Who was also starting to come into his own right around the same time in the very late 60s, early 70s. So I think, yeah, Ryan. And you know what? Actually, Ryan, because we've been listening to Iron and Wine's The Shepherd's Dog for the next episode, and I was reading up on it, and someone did mention that, yeah, that's a pretty strong influence on Iron and Wine. So I forget where I read that. It was either on AllMusic or on AV Club. So yeah, it's
it makes sense. You see it in like Innocent Bones and stuff.
Yeah, you really do. So definitely. All right, does anyone else have anything they would like to add to our discussion of Nick Drake's song One of These Things First? All right. Sounds like we're ready to move on then, guys. Let's talk about Written in Reverse by Spoon.
I'm writing this to you in reverse. Someone better call a hearse. I can see it all from here, from just a few glimpses. Now that light bulb's gone off.
This song was actually one that I picked out. I got into Spoon about, probably been 4 or 5 years now. And I picked up their album Ga 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 Ga, which, yes, it's Ga 5 times. And for those of you keeping count at home, and this is actually from the album that followed that, which was called Transference. It came out in 2010. I liked that album less than I did Ga 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 Ga, and I think there's a lot of things I like about Spoon. One of which is they have a very tightly wound, kind of very intense sound without going loud, and I think that's one thing I really appreciate about them. There's a sort of very tightly coiled feel to how their songs are written, and I think Written in Reverse has that very strongly. That has that quality really strongly. I really like the voice of lead singer Britt Daniel. I've always liked his voice. It's kind of an unconventional rock voice, kind of an older, more mature sound to it, which I really appreciate. And I think this particular song, I like I don't know, I just like the idea of riding in reverse. To me, the song has sort of a weird, angular, kind of backwards feel to it, especially that main guitar riff that just comes in at the very beginning. And so it just was an interesting song, a very catchy one, a good example of what they do well, and I that's why I picked it. So I want to know what you guys thought of it, though.
I would slightly disagree on them not getting loud, because I don't know, this song got pretty loud. I mean, I liked it, but I mean, they're basically like slamming on the keys.
Yeah,
piano,
I guess,
which is cool.
But to me, it's more
like a honky tonk.
Yeah, to me, it's more of an intensity thing than an actual. Like, they don't go for a big, heavy riff pounding everything. You know, it's a little more restrained and.
It's rhythmically loud.
Yeah. Yes. I think
they do short bursts of
exactly
like the piano, the guitar, to get their point across, and they kind of use that as another rhythm piece, which is cool. I do like Spoon, although every time I hear the name Spoon, I think of the Tick. And that's an inescapable thing, which probably cheapens the experience a little bit. You know,
I don't know. They might not mind.
I
seem
really
like
think of it in a serious manner when you're hearing Spoon
yeah.
in the back of your mind every single time.
That's true.
But no, they're a good band. I did love the piano in this.
Yeah.
That's just and you're right. He does have a more mature voice, more under control in his yells.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a very, very throaty, kind of gravelly voice, but it's not like. I mean, he knows how to use it. You know, he does it. He does it right.
A little bit like a more restrained, Foo Fighters,
maybe,
Dave Grohl.
Yeah, maybe a little bit
more restrained by quite a bit.
Aaron, you sound like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I love the voice. I love the grain of the voice type of thing. I think. Also, this song grooves really hard and really aggressively. It's a very just the space, the empty space, the way that's interacting with the accents and the heavy hitting on the piano and wherever the bass and the kick drum and the snare stuff. All that is just really nice, and I think that's the first thing that struck me, is like great vocals, just great aggressive groove. A lot of times pop grooves will go for more just a really slick groove, and I think that's more of the kind of thing I'm used to listening to. But this drummer, clearly, whoever's playing is clearly skilled, and the ensemble has a very tight pocket going on. So
yeah, they're in general, they're a very tight band. They don't always go for this kind of intensity. They're awfully varied in the type of stuff they do, but they do have a really a very lean sound where you feel like they're not wasting any notes. They're not like it's all just exactly where it needs to be. I think one thing that has always appealed to me about Spoon is that when I think of a lot of indie rock, we talked about the Shins in relation to the Garden State soundtrack, and bands like the Shins, some other indie bands, they either have kind of a quirky thing to them where it's either kind of cutesy or it makes you feel like a special flower for listening to it, or and I think that one thing I've liked about Spoon is that they really don't go for that. It's not I'm not sure how mainstream it could be. Their song The Underdog from Ga 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 Ga, I heard that on the radio around here, on rock radio around here at least. And so that one had a little bit of breakthrough. I don't think anything off of Transference did, though. And so they're not. It's not what you'd call mainstream, but it also isn't cutesy at all. It doesn't go for any kind of special delicate kind of feel. It goes for the gut, and it goes it works really hard to make it sound as tight as it can. And I think I think this song just displays that so well. So.
The one thing I would say with this song that I didn't like, it kind of does. It goes through, I guess, a verse and a chorus, and then another verse and a chorus, and then it kind of pretends like it's going to end. And begins again.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool, like the first time, and then after that I was like, well, but it's not really worth another round. And so that was my thought. I don't know what y'all think.
Yeah.
So
they could just follow the Cake model, and they could be commercial.
Yeah. I don't mind it. I like the way it goes back into the chorus after that. There's like that little way the piano trails off there, and then the drums hit again, and it goes back in. And I've always liked that. But the song does feel maybe a little longer than it needs to be, and maybe even just by like 40 seconds or so. Like it's hard to. Yeah. It's not a big deal. But it does feel like a song if it were to be released as a single, which I don't know off the top of my head if it was, but if it were to be released as a single, it would have some stuff trimmed out, and I don't think it would really miss it too much. So
yeah, I really like the song, and I really like Spoon, and this made me go back to listen to Ga 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 Ga. And the amazing thing about that album is every song is only exactly as long as it needs to be, and it's just super tight and compact. And that's something that I think Spoon does really well, and maybe why Transference didn't jive as much with me, even though I still really like it and think it's really good. But even still, like, there's a tightness about their melodies and about just their whole rhythm that I really like, and the song does a good job with that. The way it kind of mixes the piano and with that really great beat. Yeah, I really like the song.
Yeah, it's a good one, and I do recommend. I mean, Transference. A lot of people really like Transference a lot, and I don't want to make it sound like it was a letdown. It was a letdown for me, but I don't think that was the general consensus on it at all. I think that's more just how I viewed it. It's not as it actually is not as probably rocky as their earlier stuff. There's a little more piano ballads kind of stuff, and I think that it's another facet of a very fascinating band. I just don't think it always works that well for me. But this song just nails it for me, with the exception that it might just be just a little too long, or could stand to be a little shorter and wouldn't miss it. I do think you're onto something with that, Aaron. Okay, anyone else have something they want to add to Written in Reverse by Spoon? Doesn't sound like it. All right, guys. I think we ran out of songs to talk about.
There are no more songs.
There's no more songs ever. That's it. We are done with talking about songs. Hey, we got to think about what we're going to do in episode 7, though. 2 episodes from now. Who's going to be picking then? I think it is John, Ryan, and me, because Aaron's going to have something else for us, I think. So, John, you have a song you want to pick for episode 7 that you want us to listen to?
Come back to me.
Oh, you're gonna do that. You're gonna pull that. Okay, Ryan.
Hey, I'm pulling a Ryan.
No.
You are pulling a Ryan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did that. I want to do Hold On by Nico Case.
The most tender place in my heart is for strangers. I know it's unkind, but my own blood is much too dangerous. Hanging round the ceiling half the time. Hanging round the ceiling half the time.
Okay. Hold On by Nico Case. John, are you ready yet?
Yeah, I'll stick with the Foster the People album that I've been listening to, and Coming of Age.
'Cause I got nothing to say. Feels like it's coming. It's like a coming of age. Feels like it's coming. Feels like a coming of age.
Coming of Age by Foster the People. And I think I am going to pick Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by U2. It was only a matter of time before.
I was wondering when it was.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time before I brought him up, and that's the song
Only
we're gonna.
a matter of time.
That's what we're gonna open with. I think the long odyssey of me talking about U2. So, yeah.
Batman Forever.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, it is a not as terrible as it could be Batman movie.
Nice form, but a little rough on the landing.
Everyone's like,
Hey guys,
I don't know, maybe.
I think this is the first episode where we all kind of liked all of the singles.
Actually, no. I would say I really liked Hound Dog a lot. I think
Right.
Hound Dog had a lot of subtext to it. Well, I mean, I like Written in Reverse a lot too, but Hound Dog was actually probably the best one of the three, I would say.
Maybe so, yeah. No, Angel of Death.
I hate you for not liking mine the most.
This is where
I hated yours the most. If that makes you feel better.
Oh,
Just kidding.
All right, if that's enough time wasting around here, I think that's it for episode 5 of the Takedown Notice. From all of us here, this is Nate, John, Ryan, and Aaron, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I'm bringing sexy back.
Sometimes she wants to.
Boys don't know how to act.
What do you think it is, a ham sandwich? Return to sender.
Hey, kid,
how would you like to kick me in the chest?
turn around and I'll pick up the slack.
Hound Dog. All right, let's wrap it up and get out of here.